Welcome to the Yankee and Canuck podcast, Best Picture Series, where we talk about all the Academy Award Best Pictures, past to present.
And I'm your host, a Yankee.
And I'm your host, a Canuck.
And today we're going to be talking about The Sting. This is a 1973 film. It's the 46th movie that won Best Picture. And it's basically like a little heist film, I guess, starring Robert Redford and Paul Newman. So this one won quite a lot of awards, not a record-breaking amount or anything, but on top of Best Picture, it won Best Director, Best Writing, Best Music, Best Costumes, Best Art Direction, and Best Editing.
About a 70% win rate, I think, give or take.
Yeah, I haven't counted the number of categories, but that's quite a lot of Oscars, but not an absurd amount. But for this ceremony, the only thing noteworthy about this one is that the other films that were up for that category, Best Picture, were notably The Exorcist and American Graffiti.
And then two other movies that we don't need to worry about.
Yeah, them other movies.
I think one was a Swedish film. I haven't seen it. And then the other one's a British rom-com.
I always assumed The Exorcist won Best Picture because in these ceremonies, they usually do these Best Picture montages, and that comes up, like the iconic scene where, Reagan's in the bed and stuff, spitting out pea soup or whatever. But turns out, no, it was just only nominated, which is kind of weird.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I'm a huge horror movie fan. You know that. And it's unfortunate Exorcist didn't win. It should have, in my opinion. But, they just couldn't finally give it to a horror movie. I mean, this movie had such a massive impact. But to be completely honest, The Sting is, in my opinion, just about as good of a film, I think. And there's a lot of good movies this year, like you said, American Graffiti also. There are other good horror movies as well, like The Wicker Man and several others. But overall, I don't think it's some major outrage that this movie won. I think it's more like, why didn't The Exorcist win? That's really what it comes down to, I think.
I mean, I'm not a super huge fan of The Exorcist. I mean, but I will say that movie freaks me out.
It's a very important film, especially for horror movies.
It is, and it freaks me out not because of the demon stuff. It freaks me out because of things like there's a scene where they go to the hospital and they prick her neck, Linda Blair's neck, and all this blood comes out and stuff. And I was like, ew, and that just makes me cringe when I see stuff like that. So that's why the film freaks me out. Plus the Pazuzu face, that's pretty cool in the dream sequence.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, that was played by what's her face. We talked about her in one of the episodes, Best Picture winner episodes.
Correct. Yes.
Was it from All About Eve or something? Or I don't remember.
I don't remember anymore, to be honest.
Yeah, we watch too many movies. We're not going to recall everything.
I can't remember anymore.
But anyway, I mean, the other being American Graffiti, as we also mentioned, this is George Lucas's, I wouldn't say it's his first film. I think it's like his second film. But that one's really good, surprisingly enough. I mean, considering the fact that George Lucas is not really a great director, I think this is really his best effort, other than Star Wars, obviously, the first one. So, yeah.
Yeah. What are you telling me? The prequels aren't amazing?
Exactly. That's exactly what I'm saying. What are you going to do about it? What are you going to do about it? You going to fight me? But no, it's highly recommended for people that haven't seen American Graffiti. I really recommend it. It's worth watching.
Agreed. Yeah. I mean, it really was a very important film for Lucas and for that studio. So.
Exactly.
Actually, no American Graffiti, probably no Star Wars.
Probably. I mean, it's crazy how that film was done for such a little budget and made so much money. At the time, it was considered a big success in the sense that it cost so little to make, but it ended up earning so much at the box office, like over $100 million or something crazy.
Yeah, it killed it.
Yeah, absolutely. But anyway, we're not here to talk about any of that stuff. We're here to talk about The Sting. So
The Sting, directed by George Roy Hill.
It's also written by David S. Ward also.
The Ward Man.
What were you going to say?
The Ward Man.
That's all you were going to say.
Yeah, I mean, George Roy Hill. Obviously, George Roy Hill did Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid. And in this film, you get Redford and Newman. They're back at it again. And they were in that movie as well.
Yeah, it was also nominated for Best Picture some ceremonies ago. Also,
68, I think.
Yeah, I don't recall. But what's interesting about this script is that apparently this script is considered one of the best screenplays of all time, if not the best screenplay of all time.
There you go.
Yeah, so I mean, this is not really based on anything. Usually if there's a source material, I'm going to deep dive into it, right? This was all 100% a screenplay. It was not based on anything except for the mind of this guy, Ward. So he did a lot of research in terms of pickpocketers and hustlers and things like that. And he's like, you know what? I kind of want to make a movie about this. So he ended up making a movie about it, obviously. He wrote about it. And the script was discovered by a person that was working in one of the studio systems, and they ended up becoming like an agent or a studio executive themselves. But they read this on what they call the slush pile, which is like a pile of screenplays that they have to read through. They do coverage. They'd be like either chuck it in the garbage, which is like 95% of these screenplays because they're pretty bad, or the 5% which are all like, oh my God, this is gold. We got to make this into a film. Well, this dude found this dude's script and he read it and he wrote like a coverage letter to Ward. And he basically said to him, dude, this is the best screenplay I have ever read. This is a classic. This needs to be made into a movie ASAP. Like, you never hear any of these kind of glowing reviews when it comes to screenplays. Usually it's, like I said, crap. But this one is just like, no. We have to actively try to make this into a film. And I think to this day, Ward, who's still alive as of this recording, he has that coverage hung in his office or something. Like, it was just like, it was one of those things where he got it and you're like, oh, wow, someone really liked my screenplay. That's cool, you know?
Yeah.
And
But the film is partly based off of those two brothers, those two criminal brothers, Charles and Fred Gondorf, who Newman's name in this movie is called Gondorf.
yeah.
And so it's actually, the film is loosely based off of their exploits, and they were criminals, and I think they both got arrested. And so they were real grifters back in the day.
There you go. So, yeah, I mean, if anything, I figured, well, if the screenplay is considered the best screenplay of all time, even though I don't got no reading material to do, what did I end up doing? I ended up reading the screenplay, which is kind of redundant because it's not all that different from the final film. The only real differences are the fact that there's some expository dialogue scenes that were obviously taken out to move the film along quicker. And there's some extra characters that don't make it into the final film. That's mostly in the beginning. But other than that, it's the exact same screenplay. And I gotta say, as a screenplay, it's okay. It's I don't know. Like, here's the thing. The first screenplays I ever read were Inglourious Bastards and Django Unchained. And I read those when they were circulating online before the films actually came out. So Inglourious Bastards, when you read that script and you see the final film, honestly, in my opinion, dude, the screenplay is so much better. And that's because Tarantino, yeah, he's a great director, but I think he's kind of a better writer. Like, he approaches screenplay writing like a novel, basically. Like, the way it reads, it really eases you into the world. Like, he understands the mechanics and how to set up a scene and how to pay it off and all that stuff. So Django Unchained, also fantastic read. Like, when I read Inglourious Bastards, I had to stop myself from finishing it. I forced myself to stop reading it, even though I wanted to keep reading it, because I was like, I need to see the final film. And when I saw the final film, I was like, oh, this is not as good, you know? But I didn't do the same thing with Django. I read Django all the way to the end. I loved it, saw the film. I liked it, but I was like, man, there are a couple of scenes that they could have put into that film that would have been way better. I'm not going to keep going on about the screenplays. My point is, those scripts are amazing. They are the best screenplays I've ever read. The only other screenplay that I've read that is amazing is called Buried, which is that Ryan Reynolds film from a number of years ago, where he's like buried alive in a coffin or something like that. That screenplay is amazing too, from beginning to end. Like, it's a real page turner. I say that in context to this screenplay because it's, like I said, it's boring. Like, I read it and I'm like, okay, this is clever, I guess. It's got the 3-act structure, the beats are there, but it's not particularly written that well. So I don't know. Again, this is like the early 70s, maybe the late 60s when the script was first being circulated. Different time, different era. Perhaps at that time, this would have been an amazing screenplay, but by today's standards, it's not that interesting. But does that mean that the film sucks, in my opinion? Well, let's get into that, actually. Let's get right into that. So yeah, essentially about a couple of hustlers. The whole film starts with Robert Redford and his sidekick, a guy called Luther, right? A black guy. Yep,
that's James Earl Jones's father, Robert Earl Jones, played by Robert Earl Jones.
I did not know that. That's crazy.
Yep.
That's nice. That's really crazy. It's funny too, considering like George Lucas's film is nominated in this. The connections are crazy, but yeah, essentially what happens is like there's a delivery guy, and you're supposed to deliver like an envelope of money to one place. It's like a illicit like horse betting operation, whatever it was. So Robert
Yeah.
Redford stages this whole thing with another guy. It's not just Luther, but this other dude. So they staged a robbery situation in which, they end up getting that envelope of money, and they realize they hustled a lot more than they bargained for.
Exactly.
Yeah. So then you get Robert Shaw's character. He's like he's an Englishman in real life, but he plays an Irishman, I guess.
Yeah, Lonigan.
Lonigan, yeah. So he finds out about this, and he's like, "Well, guys, my money is gone. You better find the lads, and you better kill them, or whatever." That's his whole thing.
Yeah.
So Luther ends up getting killed, unfortunately. So Robert Redford's like on the run, and he wants revenge. So he ends up meeting Luther's buddy, who's Paul Newman's character. What's his name again? Donegan or something like that?
Gondorf.
Gondorf, yeah. There you go.
Henry Gondorf, yeah.
So Robert Redford ends up meeting this dude, and he's like a drunk. That's how we're first introduced to the guy. He's like slumped over on the side of the bed, and he gets a cold shower.
He's supposed to be an expert. Like, he was known for being like prolific con artist at one point. Maybe he's a little washed up at this point.
So the whole thing's about getting this Lonigan guy and setting him up. So not just to get payback for what he did to Luther, but also it's just like, let's make a lot of money in the process too. So the second and third acts is just setting up this big hustle, and that's why it's called The Sting, because it's really about hustling this big mobster dude. And meanwhile, while that's happening, you got a corrupt cop in the mix that's kind of patrolling, getting up on Robert Redford, who I think his name is Hooker in the film, right?
The cop is Snyder.
Snyder's, yeah, but Robert Redford is Hooker.
Yeah, Johnny Hooker.
So you got this Snyder police corrupt guy who's up on Hooker's ass. And you also have FBI agents, and you also have a couple of actresses too that play like a bartender, I think is one of them. I forget the other one was. She's like a show dancer or something.
Yeah. Well, she's the owner of the establishment, you mean, right?
Yeah, they're two. I know there's a
The other one is revealed. A lot of the people aren't who they seem to be, and you find out later. For example, the other one you find out is assassin who tries to kill Hooker.
Yeah, that's revealed at the very end of the film.
At the very end, yeah. And the FBI agents at the end of the film aren't FBI agents; they're actually part of the
whole operation. Here's the thing. That's the very end of the film. This whole film is defined by plot twists. So there's a lot of deceiving happening. Yeah. So you find out
we're being conned as the audience. We're being conned.
As the audience, we're being conned. Exactly. So, I mean, like, that's why from the very first scene where you think a robbery's happening, but it's really a hustle, that basically keeps happening until the very end of the film. So, if anything, I give the movie credit on how clever it is. Because you can't, because once you think you figured something out, they throw something at you entirely. Like, going back to the whole lady assassin thing, there's a reoccurring thing where there's this shady dude who's just following around the Hooker character, Robert Redford's character. And you think like, oh, that's Lonigan's guy. He's going to try to find him and kill him because that's what he ordered in the beginning of the film. You find out at the end, he's actually the Paul Newman's guy that's hired to patrol and protect him because he knows that there's some sort of a spy or something, like a rival, like Lonigan's person is actually that lady, I think, right?
Correct. Yeah. Or hired by.
Or hired. Yeah. It'll be essentially she's part of that circle. So the guy that you think is out to kill Hooker is actually trying to find his killer, which ends up being the woman.
Yeah.
So all kinds of crazy stuff like that happens. And I think one of my favorite scenes, probably my favorite scene in the entire film, is at some point to set up Lonigan to get him into this fake horse betting race operation. It's like, okay, we're going to go on this train, and this guy loves playing poker. This guy's pretty much clean in terms of like how he does his operations, and he doesn't have a lot of vices. However, he does love playing poker, and he loves to cheat at it. So you get Paul Newman's character to come and be like, all right, I can outdo him. And then there's a cool sequence where they're in the train. They steal, one of the characters, one of the female characters steals Lonigan's envelope full of money, give it to Robert Redford, and then he goes into Paul Newman's little carriage, his little room. And then that's when there's a really cool trick where he does like sleight of hand tricks with the playing cards.
Yeah.
That is a really cool scene. I thought it was really cool.
The whole poker scenes is pretty awesome. I mean, it's not as intense and dramatic as Casino Royale or something, but it's pretty damn good.
It's pretty good, yeah. It got my...
There's a lot of shenanigans being played with like a cold deck, and Lonigan is obviously a card, he's cheating at cards, but so is Newman's character. So it's like you're conning the con man anyways. So
yeah, that's what makes it thrilling when you see that scene in action.
Yeah.
And even with the card tricks too, like there's a scene where like he's done with his cards and you pan up and it's Paul Newman. And at first it tricked me because I was like, oh, that was Paul Newman the entire time. But then my partner was like, no, I'm pretty sure that's an editing trick. I'm like, what? And then I thought, oh, why am I so stupid? And I watched the scene again, and then the scene where after all the fancy tricks are done, the hands are quickly out of frame for like a second. Then one hand comes in to flip all the cards, and then it pans out the Paul Newman. I'm like, that's the trick. And I looked it up. That's where they cut it. So all the card tricks were actually done by like a professional, like card dealer or whatever. And then they switched to Newman and they did all the edits, you know, and of course it won an Oscar for best editing. So you can kind of see why.
There you go.
Because a trick, many years later, a trick still tricked me. Because I was like, because it got me in the film. Like I was just like locked in at that point.
Yeah.
So major props.
It's a great scene. It's a good scene, yeah.
Yeah, but the whole poker
that deck
thing
is
great
wrecked
too.
for sure. I hope they didn't reuse that deck because it's missing a bunch of threes.
Yeah, I know, right? The whole poker situation is really cool too. So
it is, yeah.
But me, I'm kind of biased though because I love poker. I love playing poker. Texas Hold'em specifically. They were playing regular poker, but I was just like, oh, I wonder, like, oh, it's the three of a kind, and they have really weird terms. But that's a big thing that's kind of a turnoff for me in this film. Like it's expertly researched. Like you could tell it's very authentic, but they use so many terms where I don't know what the hell they're talking about half the time.
Yeah.
So it was really hard to really understand what was going on.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. They wouldn't, it would have been totally different if it was done today and different slang and terminology.
Yeah, they'd be treating people like me like really stupid. All right, guys, this is how they hustle, you know, which... You know, it's just like, at one point I'm like, yeah, I'm being patronized, but at the other end of the spectrum, it's just like, well, at least I'm understanding what's happening, you know?
Correct, yeah.
So I don't know. Some people really appreciate that because it's just like, this is like legit when you're watching. And I'm like, yeah, I give that credit, but if I'm lost, I mean, what's the point? I don't know.
Yeah, that's something that really is, I mean, the plot is, you know, hustle, then hustle again, and then hustle some more, and grifters out to con, and that's really the film, and you're just thrown into it, and then there's these switches, and you know, like I said, that they kind of trick the audience, and they got us good. And honestly, for me, some of it was a little predictable, especially the very last scene with the shooting. And
when you get to the whole horse betting thing, the announcer, I knew right away that wasn't a real announcer. Like,
and even the shooting at the end when Paul Newman shoots him. I'm sure most people thought maybe that was what happened, but I could tell right away that I just knew that.
I'm going to be honest.
So this film doesn't have that dark or depressing ending like you might expect with films around this time, and that's okay.
It doesn't, no. But I'm going to be honest. That scene got me. That scene actually got me until they cut back, until like they got Lonigan out, and I'm like, why are they getting him out? I'm like, oh, it's a setup. It's a setup. They made it a little too obvious, I think, for the ending. For a film that prides itself of being authentic and sticking to the lingo and all this other stuff, they made certain things a little bit too on the nose, and it could have been a little bit better if they didn't do that. But nonetheless, I mean, when it comes to the performances, I mean, Robert Redford, Paul Newman, Robert Shaw, we mentioned them a lot. That's because they are really, really good. And it's funny that they didn't even win any Oscars for this at all. It's just kind of crazy to me.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, the acting is clearly good in this film. I mean, look at that cast right there. And then the supporting cast was great too. And
they really were. I mean, it's very well acted, and the story it's competent, it's clever. It's, again, I feel like it could have been a little bit better in terms of telling the story, because at some point it's just like, yeah, hustlers out hustling hustlers, but at some point it just felt sort of manufactured at the same time. That was my kind of issue. Like, I wasn't as emotionally invested as I wanted to be. You know what I mean? Because at the end of the day, what's Robert Redford's goal? To make more money. Okay. Is that it? Is there anything else? Are you trying to pay off a debt? Are you trying to pay off medical bills or something like that? Is there anything else? No, I just want to get rich.
Yeah, just get rich. And I guess survivability is a big factor with Lonigan and all that. So
yeah, there's the Luther aspect, but it's just like, I don't know.
The stakes are high, but I think the stakes could have been higher, right?
Much higher, yeah.
I think that's the way I would look at it. The stakes are high, but I think we're used to a lot of other films with, different side stories going on, or other challenges that the players of the story or the main character, whoever, has, whether it's, some other issue or, So I think they could have maybe added on to that, like you said. But in this story, though, I thought their approach, the methods and tactics are really clever in the movie, and the movie does blend it and weave it all that deception and the thrill of it all, and with the humor in there. I thought they did a really good job. It's a really fun movie.
Yeah, for the most part, because by the time I got to the end, because like the first, I would say, act of the film, I wasn't really locked in. I wasn't really invested too much. But by the time the actual sting operation happens, I was like, oh, okay, this is clever. I want to see where they go with this. And I feel like that's the censure, I guess you could say. That's the thing that got me hooked. Because it's just more about like, okay, I want to see what they're capable of now. But, even when you get to the fake horse betting situation, it's kind of absurd if you think about it. Okay, so he hears on the radio Robert Shaw's Lonergan character, the horse betting the horse betting thing, and he comes back like 2 or 3 times or something, then he bets more and more money. I'm like, it doesn't make you stop and think, should I just look this stuff up in the paper to see if this is legit? Right. You know what I mean? Or is this super underground stuff to the point where you can't do that?
But they're in a legit place. Like, the place looks legit. It's packed with people, the signs, the not the screens, but the chalkboard and all that. Everything looks legit. Like, they really set it up to con this guy.
Yeah, but he
presented it in such a way.
But he knowingly didn't do it. Yeah. But he knowingly goes in this establishment knowing it's run by the guy who cheated him at poker.
True. Yeah, that's a good point.
That's the thing that got me. There
things about that. Gullible in that sense.
I guess, but then it makes him
especially for bringing some crime boss and shit. He should know better.
That's what I mean. Like that makes him not as menacing right. as a villain. You know what I mean? When he's just that stupid.
Yeah, that's a fair point.
That's what I mean. Like that's where these are areas where I felt like, okay, not only character motivations could have been better, but those things could have been tightened up a little bit better too. Like if he did not know Paul Newman owned that establishment, then I would be like, okay, I could see why he would think it's legit. But if he knows he's doing it, I'm like, wait a minute, ain't that the guy who stole my envelope? Isn't he the guy who cheated me at poker? Well, here's $500,000. I think you're not going to steal my money. I'm like, what the hell? Yeah. Give me a break, dude.
I mean, they explain it because, Redford, they plays the part that, my boss sucks. Yeah. And so I'm going to work with you and we can get the money and do all this.
But I'm like, come on, bro. I mean, how do you know he's not lying to you? You don't know this guy. Yeah.
And since he won, he did it multiple times to know that it was legit, because just one win, it's like, okay, now I'll put a little bit more and see. So he was being a little bit, doing some due diligence, a little bit. Yeah. But without looking at the environment and not taking the scope of it, but kind of being centrally focused on, okay, we did win again. I guess now I'll give you the $500,000.
I just needed more. There, so. I think for me, I just needed more. You know what I mean? Because otherwise I get lost. Otherwise the illusion breaks for me. But not to say that this is a bad film by any means. I mean, the only other things I can really mention about the film is that it's funny that this thing won Best Editing, and I brought up the card thing earlier, but there's some editing things in the film that are just janky, and sometimes there are things that are actually filmed that are not good. Like, for instance, there's a shot where after Robert Redford meets Paul Newman takes his little bath and he gets out. There's a shot where they go back and forth and you see Robert Redford. At first I was like, is this my eyesight? And I leaned in and I was like, wait a minute, this shot is out of focus. This is what? Like, he was blurry. Paul Newman was perfect. He was perfectly in focus, but Robert Redford was all blurry. And I was like, what? And then a little bit later, there's an action scene where there's an FBI agent that hits a guy at the bar. I think he plays like the thief in the very beginning of the film. And it's like a really awkward cut where he grabs him, but very carefully hits him on the table. And then you cut to a close-up shot and the table easily flips over. Like, it didn't look authentic, in other words. Like, it didn't look believable that he hit the guy on the table and flipped over the table. Like, there's some questionable scenes in this too on top of that. So I don't know. Maybe it's because like I'm really looking for these shots, I guess. Because I think about that thing in Star Wars where Mark Hamill, that scene in A New Hope where they come out of the trash compactor and then Luke Skywalker was just submerged in water. And then the next scene that they filmed, he was mostly dry. He was just like, wait a minute, is my hair supposed to be wet, Mark Hamill? And then Harrison Ford was just like, listen, kid, if people are looking at your hair, we're in for a big, we're in deep. And I'm like, that makes sense. But when it comes to a movie like that, I'm so invested, I don't even notice. Yeah. In this film, I'm not that invested, so I definitely notice. So
you pick up on it a little bit more. Yeah.
Again, that's just me. I don't know, man. But ultimately, all that stuff being said, when it comes to this film, I think I would comfortably give this a 7 out of 10. It sounds like I'm talking shit a lot, but at the end of the day, this film is entertaining. It's clever. When you get to the last act, it is thrilling. And if you're looking for all that stuff in a film, and typically I do, if you're entertained sufficiently enough, this thing will do it.
Yeah. I mean, it's just a great movie. It's very good all around. Very fun movie. I enjoyed it. I probably wouldn't mind watching it again sometime down the road, maybe in a few years or something. I don't know. But yeah, good movie. Good score, too. We didn't even touch on the music. Music's great, too.
Oh, they play the entertainer
really,
a lot.
Entertainer, yeah. And it works so well in some of the scenes and like the fast moving scenes, chase scenes. And it's just really, really a good movie. I really enjoyed it. And I'm actually giving it an 8 out of 10.
There you go. Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't complain about that either. I mean, it's a decent film. It's a good film even. So I recommend you guys check this out.
Check it out.
All right, guys, and that is The Sting. So for the next film, it's actually a sequel to a film we've already talked about an episode ago, but we'll get more into that when we get into that.
Man, the 70s are pretty damn good. I think this is the best decade so far. Also taking into consideration the upcoming films. But anyways, I digress. Hope you guys enjoyed, and don't forget to like and comment, subscribe, all that. We'll see you next week. Peace.